Well, it's like deja vu all over again. That's right. It's Friday afternoon, really live here at Pro Cannabis Media. This is the Green Rush Live talk show where we talk about the cannabis business with leaders and advocates and people who've survived tremendous trauma. In this particular situation, we're welcoming in my guest host as sometimes regularly now, Doug Miller from New Jersey. I'm not sure I introduced myself, but I know my man Dan probably put Jimmy Young, founder Pro Cannabis Media, along the bottom. Hi, Doug.
How are you, Jimmy?
Good. And I'd also like to bring in the CEO of MariMed. His name is Jon Levine. He's originally from Needham, Massachusetts, which is where I spent quite a bit of my time over the last few decades, let's just say. Jon, thank you so much for joining us here on Friday afternoon's Green Rush Live.
Thank you, Jim, and it's great to be here.
All right, so careful what you wish for, I think, sometimes when it comes to management in the cannabis space. I mean, you know, you are now a official CEO of MariMed. And by the way, deepest condolences for the loss of Bob. I got to know him a little bit in various trade shows and what have you. And I was kind of shocked like all of you. And I understand you were best friends with him.
Yeah, Bob and I were very good friends. We met at Blue Hills Country Club playing golf about 21 years ago, and grew into friends and then business partners, which we did business for just about 20 years in multiple adventures and got into this cannabis business. I just want to correct one thing. I am not officially the CEO as of yet. I am still the interim CEO president.
Yeah.
But
so is Joe Missoula. Okay, so I get it, the interim thing. I actually show respect. I don't believe in it. You're doing the job. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is, but I understand why, and I appreciate the sensitivity there. And now that I know it's Blue Hill Country Club, after the interview, we are going to play Do You Know? Okay?
We all know.
Absolutely. Oh my God, that's so funny. But I want to talk a little bit about being the interim CEO, okay, you happy now, of an MSO, a multi-state operator. You know, in this day and age, with all the doom and gloom prognosticators out there, the MSOs are becoming a very easy target for the rest of the industry. How are you dealing with, and A, do you feel like you're under attack at all? And B, what differentiates your MSO from others?
Well, first I'll say that, you know, even though we're an MSO, we're still one of the best kept secrets in the industry. You know, Bob and I are probably more of an old timer in this industry. Bob and I got involved in it well over 10 years ago, probably about 15, 16 years ago, started in California in the San Jose area in Aptos, built out some grow houses there and a dispensary, got into the industry before there was an MSO. And eventually we started advising in this business. And that's really what differentiates us. We got into this industry first with the mission of helping people. This was a medical industry. There was no rec. We weren't even talking about rec. But Bob and I really saw the ability of helping people every day make their lives better. There was a real use for this medicine. And I call it medicine because it's exactly what it was to a lot of the patients in the beginning of the cannabis industry. I just remember helping people, especially when we opened up our first facility in Delaware, and I stepped in to run the register, and this poor guy telling me his story about how happy he was to be there, that he didn't have to get rolled in the back alley. He really meant it. This poor guy was in a wheelchair, only able to move his fingers and his eyes and speak, and basically came in for the safety, paid for his medicine by me reaching into his front pocket, taking the money out, counting it for him, putting the change, bringing the medicine around to his wheelchair and putting it into his wheelchair. That's what this is about, helping people, making their lives better. That's what makes us really different than most of the MSOs. Bob and I have been in this for so long that was our first mission, was to help people every day. That started it. Secondly, we built this company, just as I said. We opened up from the ground up, writing applications, teaching these people that we're partnering with to write the applications, building out the facility, training the people from our experience that we learned in California. Yeah, did we do everything right? No, we did a lot wrong in California. But every year we got better and better, and we were able to create a business that was a real business. I know that people used to just walk around thinking, oh, cannabis is a fun thing to get high and sit around and just chill out and listen to music and munch. But the fact is that there was more to this. And Bob and I created it. We went to the first business shows and we were wearing suit and ties, and people were like, hey, what are these guys doing? Who are they? Are they the police?
That's right. You look like narcs. You dress like that. That's what everybody freaks out about, right? Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. And today, we go to the same shows. Everybody's dressed up as I am today, and you are also wearing a shirt and a sport coat, slacks, and it's a much more professional look in the industry. This is a real business. By getting into this industry and doing that.
Yeah.
Third is what really differentiates us, unlike a lot of the other MSOs. If you look at the balance sheets, we've been very disciplined on what we do. We don't go out, we don't raise a lot of capital and pay stupid telephone numbers to buy entities just to say that we have revenue of X. We have built our revenue and our profits up from the very bottom, from the opening of these facilities, from the management fee world to the ownership as we rolled each of our partners in. We went from about a $3 to $6 million business to now we're 130 plus million, and we're going to continue to grow. Why? Because we know how to do it from the beginning. When we bring our partners in, they're all profitable, they're cash flow positive, and there's not a lot of people in this industry that can say that they have cash flow positive. We have. We've done it successfully every year. And fourth, and probably one of the most important pieces that we're really focusing on the current is this industry is turning, as I said, into a real business. And we're focusing on our branded products. Branded products like Kleenex. This is what's going to be important in this industry. Name recognition, good quality, consistent products. Coca-Cola and McDonald's, they basically rolled out. What was the reason that people went to them? They knew what they were going to get, the consistency, the same product, the same look and feel. With MariMed and all of our subsidiaries, we bring out products such as Betty's Eddies, which is an award-winning brand in every state that it's in, one of the top sellers, if not the top seller. But what do you get? You get that consistency. You get the same thing with our flower, no matter what state we're growing in. When you buy Nature's Heritage, you know that when you open up a jar of flower, even if the state says you can't look at it beforehand, you're going to get that high quality, big bud, and good smoke. So those are the reasons that we're probably one of the best unknown MSOs.
There you go. Well, that's going to change now that you appear on this show. Okay. I'm just telling you that. And I was hucking Bob for a long time, and for whatever reason, he was ducking me. But that being said, Doug Miller is from New Jersey, which, as you know, is one of the newer states to go from medical to adult use. I think it's interesting. I have a feeling you too. I cringe when I hear recreational use of a medicine, a plant medicine, which is what cannabis is. Doug, I'm sure you have a question or two for Jon.
I sure do. I actually just did my high on Wall Street. So I did a stock report. I trade stocks. I did a stock report just yesterday about your acquisition, the $35 million that you were taking on. And I had a question about the processing, the kitchen facility in Missouri. And what exactly, because you were just discussing the edibles, and so I was wondering if you were taking your own brands and just processing them there and producing them, or are you going to produce other companies and brands as well in that center?
Well, right now our goal is to go into that center. We're building it out presently. We were going in there before the adult use, and we have partnered up with a great supplier that we know that we're going to get good quality flower and trim to blast into our high quality oils and edibles. So we're going into that state. We're going to be launching our own brands at first, and our own oils, whether it's under Nature's Heritage, Betty's, Bubby's, Vibations, or Calm, that we're going to go in there and we're going to hit that market with some of the top brands. And these brands have, like I said, have been very successful elsewhere. And Betty's Eddies is in such high demand everywhere. I just think it's a difference maker in the market. Our in-house gummies have been a very big success in Maryland. We feel it's going to continue, that people understand that we understand how to make a very well controlled product we have consistency, you get that great flavor, and you don't get that harsh hash burn. We've been in this industry long enough to know, how do you make a good product, not just for a medical patient, but for the recreational patient?
Adult use patient. No, I get you. You know, it just cringe. I just cringe when I hear it, because we all get it. Okay, you could use it. By the way, you could use Robitussin like that too. I just want to say, another one of those over-the-counter medicines that you can get in a pharmacy as opposed to a dispensary, like we have here with MariMed in the different states. How important is it, from a ownership perspective, from an investment perspective, to actually control seed to sale and create a vertical so that you can control the entire process?
Well, it's very important to basically be able to control the process if you want to have the consistency. But it's also a very expensive aspect in terms of the grow and processing together being built out. That's not the large money maker like the dispensaries are today. However, the margins are always good if you can do the seed to sale, because you can keep your margins higher at the retail center with the 280E, that you can really become profitable. But in reality, the real answer to your question is, we're going to concentrate on getting our brands. That branded products are very important. Going into Missouri, we're not going in and buying up a cultivation and processing and retail license. Why? Because it's a state that's already been up and running, very successful, that's probably oversaturated at the time with medical when we first got in there, that now we want to just sit back, check the market out, enter it with our branded products. And if we're very successful, then we can look at the other aspects of retail and grow.
I've asked other people in this space about, what is the difference in, can you put a number on the amount of revenue difference between running a medical dispensary versus an adult use dispensary too? Well, what is the big jump there?
Well, the big jump there is the number of patients, and I'm going to use Massachusetts and Maryland as an example. Both are two states that went from the medical to the adult, but then had the price correction in cannabis, which is hitting a lot of these states in the mouth right now. And you saw a big price drop because there's an oversaturation of medicine on the market. Maryland is a medical only state still, but their prices have already fallen. What they're really waiting for is adult use to come in. Those prices will go back up. The difference is, with adult use, you still have a lot of people with the conspiracy theory that don't want to get their medical license because they think that everybody's watching them and that the government tracks how you live when they see that you have your medical card. And that does scare people from getting their medical card. If you get sick and you go to the doctor and they give you a prescription, people don't understand. All those prescriptions in those pharmacies are all trackable by the government. It's no different. Only difference is that you don't have to register to buy it. You know, you brought up the cough syrup. I mean, think of it. The alcohol industry is another entity that's really like this business, but doesn't get controlled like we do. Cough medicine has a lot of alcohol and has other items in it, such as melatonin, to help people sleep or get to sleep when they're not feeling well. It's not different than what we're doing. It's just that we are the most regulated industry in the country.
Oh, you think?
No.
It's funny you mentioned the cost of a medical card. You know, in Massachusetts, it's between 150 or 125. And sure enough, I go to a dispensary today, and one of the workers there was trying to tell me it was $350. And I'm like, I don't know where you go, pal, but that's a lot more than I've paid every year. And I've had my medical card since the first week that you were allowed to do that, because of my horrific my arthritis and 4 surgeries in 22 years. We don't need to talk about my body. Let's let it go. Let it go. Let it go. I use it medicinally. And I preach that as well. Doug, you get another one for John?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on something that John had mentioned, because I find it fascinating, from the seed to dispensary type of model. And the cost, you said, it costs a fortune to grow. People don't understand what it costs to grow quality cannabis. And I know the markets are saturated with all kinds of cannabis, but to make the proper medicine with the proper quality, you need quality cannabis, and you need the right growers. You need all it's not exactly an easy process. And so when you discuss that, how much does it a general ballpark as the overhead for just a grow facility for something that you're doing in one state? Because it's just fascinating to me that it costs so much money to grow.
It's not the ongoing cost, it's the capital cost you have to put into a cultivation and processing center. I mean, people are putting in anywhere from 200 to $300 a square foot to build out these facilities. I have been doing real estate and real estate construction for many years. And 10 years ago, I started out doing them for under $100 a foot. And with inflation today, we're up to about 170 to 175 a foot. We're still below the industry, but why? A lot of people go and they listen to these high-priced architects and engineers telling you you need these extra things, bells and whistles, to build the Taj Mahal. Well, we're building a manufacturing facility that is a state-of-the-art, cleanest facilities around, and we do it with individual systems. I know a lot about systems for HVAC from my years of running office and wholesale and retail businesses, and I understand how to build a facility. And we've been very lucky. But you're putting into like in a facility like Maryland, that was close to $19 million to get that facility up and running. Massachusetts, with buying the building, all the equipment, was pretty much around, let's say, 10 to maybe 12 million. But those facilities, it takes 7 years, probably 5 years to turn it to get your money back. And it's got to be patient, but you got to know what you're doing. You don't want to overspend. And that's where a lot of these growers go in there, they overspend, and then they have to drop their prices because they have to produce so much medicine to be able to make their monthly payments. We've been very fortunate that we've been very disciplined in our financial approach to everything down to the building out of our dispensaries, to building our cultivation and processing. And we were probably one of the few groups at the very beginning that were getting standard mortgages. We all talk about banking and how difficult banking is. But banking really is not illegal. You just have to find the right banks that understand that. The problem is that 90% of the cannabis industry won't ever find that type of banking. We have been very fortunate through mine and Bob's years of connections that we were able to luckily find local banks that would give us standard mortgages. And knock on wood, we're very thrilled with the opportunities that we've had, and we're going to continue to do those.
You
Great
mentioned
feedback. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great, and you also mentioned the word patience. That is not a word that a lot of people in the cannabis industry use, because most of them that have started up or what have you are beholden to the investors and on their boards. And you know, some of them like Curaleaf, they're out of California now. So I mean, even the biggies have to adjust and improvise and adapt. How patient is your group?
Our group is one of probably the most patient. We had the opportunity to go to Canada at the very beginning of the boom when everybody was raising money. We were already on the OTC here in the US, and we didn't see the benefit of going to Canada and dealing with all those crazy investment bankers to try to raise money, which they did successfully. And that's why we have a lot more MSOs, and we have a bunch of companies that have a ton of cash that they've blown through. And what do they got? They have a lot of non-performing operations that are just break even. And we've done it the slow, easy way. We've had opportunities to go into California. Well, I told you we started in California, but you don't hear MariMed doing anything in California at this time. California is a very difficult market. Was 12 years ago, still is today. We're not in Colorado. We're not in Washington or Oregon. Every place that ear just said that they were moving out of. Why? Because those are very difficult markets with a lot of people trying to put stupid prices on the value of these operations, and they're not worth it. You're seeing the price reduction and licenses coming back down to normal. And that's really what we've been very patient and waiting for, because we're prudent with our money. We just went out and signed for the 35 million, which we took down 30, but that was to do things a little bit different. we have been working this all off of cash flow from our operations and growing it. But we see that we have a bunch of things that we're trying to get open in the next 12 months. And with delays of the supply chains, we've got to have the money ready to go so that we can get these done as soon as possible, so that this year is a great year to grow, but next year is a great year of reporting to show what those growth has done for us.
Yeah. And again, you know, I'm sure you've read the doom and gloom reports. It's actually very refreshing to hear some positivity coming from a leader of a MSO, even though it is a unique MSO. Now, what's your feeling about, you just pretty much teased it, the future? Are we going to see any kind of reform at the federal level, whether it's decrim, deschedule, get rid of the 280E, safe banking? I mean, all the things the industry really wants. Do you expect any of that to happen?
Do I expect it to happen? Yes. Do I expect it to happen in the next couple of years? Probably not. Do I want it to happen in the next couple of years? I'm even less optimistic about wanting to see it because of the fact, if you read in the Wall Street Journal and some other releases in the last day or two about the federal government and CBD in edibles and nutrients, and how they want to start the regulation and figure out what the long-term effects are and all this other stuff. That's the problem with becoming federally legal. The Food and Drug Administration, all these other pieces you're going to have to go through. Banking would be great to have, makes us more legit. Get rid of this 280E. Yeah, we'd all love to see that go. Problem is the government's not ready to handle what is the long-term effect of cannabis? What is the long-term effect of taking a THC, CBD, or any other type of edible in the long term? That's what slowed down this world in getting cures, is that we have to test everything to death.
Right. Well, that's why I'm leaving my body to science with a list of all the crap that I put in it over the 65 years that I've been on this earth. And we laugh about it, but it's true. And I don't understand, again, government delays and gives you levels of compliance and regulation. That to me, that reeks of, we don't want them to go as fast as they think they'd like to go. Let's slow them down. Charlie Baker did it here in Massachusetts. You know, he said, I want you to crawl before you walk, before you run. And it's obvious to me anyway, that those in our leadership positions are trying to do the very same thing. To me, it's very frustrating. I'm going to guess it's a little frustrating for you too.
It's frustrating in the fact that we have to fight every day to keep a bank account open, whether it's myself personally or the business. Getting our accounts closed because they hear the word cannabis, or being rejected to borrow money at real rates. What we had to sign for the Chicago Atlantic may have been some of the lowest above prime in the industry. However, this isn't realistic. I'm a real businessman, and I'm throwing up over what I'm paying for interest.
Yeah, I get you. Hey, Jon, I know we could probably talk to you for a lot longer, but we do have the cannabis industry and cannabis tourism industry waiting on hold. And that's going to be an interesting discussion on the next hour or so. But Jon, MariMed, tell us where is the dispensary? You might as well give some plugs here for what you've done and where you are at.
Well, in Massachusetts, we have 2 dispensaries, one in Middleborough and one coming to Beverly shortly. Once the state approval, we have a delivery service with Little Dog that we've teamed up with. So we do home deliveries in Massachusetts. Then we have a dispensary in Annapolis, Maryland. We have 4 dispensaries in Southern Illinois, Mount Vernon, Metropolis, home of Superman, Anna, and Harrisburg. And then we help manage 2 facilities that we wrote applications to in the state of Delaware, in Wilmington and Lewes. And we're very proud of all those facilities and everything that they're able to do to help people.
There you go. That's Jon Levine. He is the acting interim CEO of MariMed. I'd love to get rid of that title too, I'm sure, because he's missing his good friend. And again, our deepest condolences to the family of the Fireman family and the whole MariMed family, because I know some of the people, as you know, on your staff, and you guys are a pretty tight group. And I have a lot of respect for that as well, because there's a lot of doom and gloom out there, and we needed something positive. So I appreciate you taking the time on a Friday afternoon. We're a little late for our usual 4:20 Friday afternoon break, but we are going to take it now. I want to thank you, Jon, for coming on, and we will continue with more business of cannabis discussion on Green Rush Live after this break.